Hey guys. Sorry, I don't have a decent mic today. My adapter messed up and it has a lot of interference, so it's very disturbing. So I have something planned for today, but I figured you guys would rather me answer your test questions first. So if you have any, feel free to talk on the mic, or you can type them in the chat. Yeah, sorry, I was having to get a coronavirus test because I came into contact with someone who was confirmed to have it. So that's why I was late. I was in line for over 3 hours. But I don't have access to the test or any of the questions, so I'd need your guys' help to see them. So you have to ask me the questions directly. I mean, if you guys don't have any questions, I can start on. I had an acceleration problem. That I can write down for you guys while we're waiting for any test questions. How do you access the test? I thought y'all were supposed to already do that. I was planning on y'all having the questions memorized, like the ones that gave you a lot of problems. I don't know if y'all can access the test again. I don't know how Respondus works. Um, what's the question? So when t equals 50, and you can't use a calculator? All right. And t equals 50. So let's do 0.019 times 50. And that equals. I thought y'all had like a very simple calculator on the Respondus browser that you could do basic calculations with. Okay, so equals. Y'all don't have to complain to him about this because this is impossible without a calculator. So that's 608 e to the negative 0.95. That equals 608 over e to the 0.95. And without a calculator, this right here is your final answer. Y'all don't know how to do a power series yet, so y'all can't really expand that. Yeah, that's what you get. That's what you would have to put in as your final answer. Unless it was multiple choice, I don't know how the test looked. I plugged in a calculator and it equals yeah. So that's what it equals, but without a calculator, you can't expand this. E to the first is like 2.72. Yeah, you should be like, hey, how are we supposed to solve this? Because I don't know a different way. It's an easy problem if you have a calculator. But what I have highlighted is as far as you can go. Yeah, sorry, I was on the road during this and sitting and waiting in line. Apparently, there's a new Pokemon series on Netflix. I got through half of that. But as far as you can get to the 608 divided by e to the 0.95. Let me look at the group chat. All right. Now, if you know what e to the first is, it's got to say if you know what e to the one, you need be able to do the calculations. It's not e to the 1. If you plug in e to the 1, it's 224, not 235. So you can't do that without a calculator. So that's about all I can help you with right there. That's BS that he won't give you a calculator but gives you a question like that. Anything to do with e's and natural logs you should have a calculator. Was the test hard or easy besides that question? So it had a lot of algebra review and everything on it. Did you have to scan in like your worked out stuff on your paper? Oh, he didn't even make you show your work. Wow. Hmm. Anyway, so email him. Yeah, some of the algebra I couldn't even get. Like, um, or the trig. A couple of the trig problems I didn't even know what it is. Obviously, I've never used it in a practical sense. I doubt it's tough. It's just I haven't used it. I don't ever remember using those trig rules ever. Um, so any more questions that were a little difficult besides the Half-Life question? Well, how do y'all think y'all did on the test? Like A's, B's, F's? So bad you're gonna drop the course? Oh, really? Oh, that's really nice. Hmm. Well, at least y'all did that. Yeah, I mean, you have one more test, so if you bomb this one terribly, you either got to get your stuff together big time and not make another single mistake, or I'm not trying to be mean, you're gonna have to drop if you did so terrible on this test. Because you only have, I think you have one test, two tests, and then the final. I don't know how everything will stack up or the homework. Honestly, I would never recommend a calculus class in the summer unless you're retaking the class because you barely passed it or barely failed the pass last time. Yeah, yeah, I guess it is pretty lenient. So you have room for errors, but oh, it always helps. Always. So did he cover everything he had taught to last Thursday? Or did he also put chain rule on there? Oh yeah, if you mess up this exam, you're fine. Just don't mess up the final. And that's only 15% of your grade. That's not that bad. Yeah, it's only 15%. So if you made a 50, it's only you can still make an A in the class. You want me to go over anything else, or you want me to do that acceleration problem, or any other types of problem that y'all feel like y'all still need help with? Well, I can't teach anything new, so I have one I was expecting to get a lot more questions. I guess you made the test too easy. Um, or if you already saw your answers, I guess y'all don't have to wait or anything. But all right. So this is an acceleration problem. It's quite simple. It's from your textbook. It goes. What do I do? All right. Um, so the particle's position is given by S equals F of t. S is in meters and t is in seconds. I want you to find these three things. So A. All right. So I haven't written down the equation yet, but it wants you to find the displacement and average velocity over the given time interval. It wants you to find the body speed and acceleration at the endpoints of the interval. And when, if ever, in the interval does the body change direction. So, you ready for me to keep moving on, or can y'all read this properly? All right, so for the first part, find the displacement and average velocity over the given time interval. So, first question, do we need the derivative to solve for A or solve A? Correct. We do not need the derivative to solve for A because displacement is just distance. So there's no, well, there is a direction, but it's not in relation to time. And the average velocity is not instantaneous. Therefore, you don't need the derivative. Okay. So how we solve for average or displacement, we get the end of the interval, so f of 2, because t equals 2, minus f of 0. And you plug in 2 to here, everywhere you see a t. Which equals 4 minus 6 plus 2 minus 2, because when you distribute the negative sign. All this right here equals 0. So this equals negative 2. That's the displacement. Everybody follow along? Any questions this far? That's just the displacement. We haven't gotten the average velocity yet. Because you have 4 minus 6, which 2 squared is 4, minus 6 is negative 2 plus 2 is 0. And you subtract 0 minus 3 times 0, which is 0 plus 2, so you're subtracting 2 from that. This is just the displacement. You haven't found the average yet. Oh, we're finding the displacement and the average. So this is t, displacement. Or actually, better term. This is s at t equals 2. Oh, no, it's not s at t equals 2. My bad. It's just the displacement d. So for v average, for v average equals the displacement, which is f2 minus f of 0, over the time interval. So now we're solving for average velocity, which equals, we already know this equals negative 2 over 2, which equals negative 1. And this would be meters per second. Yeah, I can't forget units, my bad. This is in meters. So this right here is displacement. Everybody following along? This isn't a hard problem. It's just showing what you can get. I'm going to assume that's yes. So B, find the body's displacement, or find the body's speed and acceleration at the endpoints of the interval. So speed, it's not average speed, it's just speed. So do we need the derivative for this problem? Yes. Okay. So for B, so you have S equals T squared minus 3T plus 2. So using the power rule, y'all know this by now. And that's just for accelerate or speed. So it wants to speed it at the endpoints. So the endpoints are 0 and 2. So S at S prime at t equals 0 equals -3, and S prime at t equals 2 equals 1. And these are the speeds at the endpoint. And this is, of course, meters per second. And for the acceleration, you are correct, actually. So S prime does equal that. But since speed has to equal positive, so speed you are correct. Speed is does not have direction, therefore it is always positive. So I did it again, didn't I? Okay. And now for acceleration, velocity is the change in distance per second. Acceleration is the change in velocity every second. So we need the second derivative equals 2. So S prime prime at t equals 0 equals 2. So these are your answers here. Because there's no t to plug into, it's always 2. The acceleration is always increasing. Y'all following along still? Okay. And now for C, when, if ever, during the interval does the body change direction? Now, I'm going to ask y'all to tell me, how do we solve this one? Give me some hints. Correct. First derivative. What do we do with the first derivative? Any ideas? No, you do not plug in acceleration. It wants to know what time t does the body change direction. So when you have velocity, what shows you the velocity in one dimension? So you're going from, say, from left to right. What shows you the direction? So I'm gonna what direction is this going in? So velocity is different than speed because it has a magnitude and a direction. We're only working in one dimension, so we're not doing 2 dimensions or 3 dimensions. So what gives you the direction, whether you're going left, right, up, or down, is this sign right here, the negative sign. So we can say that negative is left and positive is right. So at t equals 0, the velocity is 3 meters per second to the left. Make sense? Okay. So essentially, We want to know when this equation changes from negative to positive, when this velocity changes from negative to positive. How can we solve for that? Okay, so there's a number in between both of these, in between negative and positive, that is neither negative or positive. And for that brief second, it's not moving. What number do we set this equal to solve for t when it's changing direction? Correct. And now we just solve for t. Equals 3/2 seconds. So this is when the velocity or the particle changes directions. Make sense? Everyone following along? God almighty, computer. Okay. I'm not gonna lie, I thought there was gonna be more test questions, so I didn't plan for much more. I can go find something real quick off your textbook. Any other concepts y'all want to go over specifically? I don't have any concepts that ever funky to you guys, like limits or continuity, taking derivatives. Limits of x is approaching infinity. Yeah, we can go for that. I'm trying to get to the questions. I don't know how to navigate this textbook. It's stupid. All right, here's some of them. Let's do this one. Y'all probably seen this one on your homework. I don't like that color. Okay, so y'all remember seeing this one right here? Or something like it? I'll come up with a second question too. You think the first one's 1/2? Anybody saying it's 2 or disagreeing that who all says this is 2? Anyone else? Well, say if you plug in that sine of 2x is limit is x approaches infinity, this one's always going to be between -1 less than or equal to, let's say, y. Actually, I know. F of x is less than or equal to 1. And you plug in infinity down here, you get infinity. Yes, Sophia, you're right. Limit has to be approaching 0 for that theorem to be in effect. So what's bigger, -1, value between -1 and 1, or infinity? Correct. It's 0. So as this gets bigger, it's going to be approaching 0. Makes sense? You got to pay attention to what x is approaching down here. All right. Now what about this second question? What's this answer? Any guesses, ideas? Limit as x approaches -infinity is sine 3x over 3x. No one? So again, this is going to be between -1 and 1. And this is going to be 3 times -infinity, which equals, now, I don't know about you, but I think -infinity is bigger, way bigger than -1 and 1. So essentially this one equals 0 as well. Makes sense? Am I making sense? Not with this one, because the bottom is so large that it doesn't matter. And also it's going to be oscillating every 2 pi interval over a 2 pi period. So you just put 0. It's so small, we just assume it's 0. That only matters when the limit is approaching positive or negative infinity. That's when you have to make deduction skills on certain things. So all right. Well, if you plug in 0 here, you get 0 over 0. That's no bueno. That means something has to happen. So the limit what can we multiply this by to make that theorem that y'all were talking about work? You can't multiply by any value that's larger or less than 1. It has to be a form of 1. So say 3 million over 3 million, that's still equal to 1. So what do we need in the bottom to make the theory that's the limit of x approaches 0 of sine x over x work? What do we need down here in order to make that happen? Well, you have a 4x right here, so you need a 4x on the bottom. So what can you multiply the bottom by to get that to equal 4x? A 2, right? So if you multiply this bottom by 2, that equals 4x. So, but you have to multiply by a form of 1, so you multiply this by 2 as 2 over 2. And that equals, well, first off, you could take this 2, since you don't need to multiply by anything, and pull it out over here, and multiply these two together. Equals 2. I cannot write today. Now, a little trick with these, if you have this right here, the answer, oh, were you saying the answer was 4 over 2, or were you saying to multiply the top and the bottom by 4 over 2 is? Because the answer technically is 4 divided by 2, which is 2. Because there is a trick to that. You can just focus on the top and the bottom, these two numbers, and you can divide the top by the bottom one. So 4 divided by 2, and you get the answer over here. So if that's what you're saying, you are correct, but you have to multiply by a factor of 1 to get the answer. Any questions over these? Yeah, that's what I was about to do next. I was just going over those rules real quick. So I was literally looking for another problem. So we're going to do positive and negative infinity on this one. So of someone above me is going crazy. Okay. So what can we do here to start solving the problem? Yep, divide by the highest power on the denominator for all of it. So I like to look at it like this. All over x to the 5th times And you can see now that these cancel out, leaving you so if you plug in infinity, you get infinity minus 0 plus 0. And since it's positive infinity, it doesn't matter with the sign. 0 plus 0 minus 4. So that equals infinity over negative 4, which equals negative infinity. Any questions? Any questions on how I did that? If not, yeah, awesome. Okay. So if we're going to do this problem now, you start out the same way, dividing by the highest power in the denominator. It's not 0 lines. You pull out the highest power in the denominator, make them cancel out. All right. I should have thought this through. I should have moved down further. So it equals I cannot draw infinity to save my life. So if you plug that in, you get negative infinity minus 0 plus 0 over 0 plus 0 minus 4. So you hit negative infinity over negative 4, and that in turn equals positive infinity. Got to pay attention to your signs on these two. So you have a positive divided by a negative right here. You have a negative divided by a negative. So that's the tricky part about these. Any questions over that, or you want me to do another one? I'm trying to find a tricky one, like the one you were showing me on your homework, Sophia. Yeah, I think I found them. I don't want to do that one though. We'll do this one. Unless y'all have any questions over anything. Any questions? All right, I'll do one more. Start right here. So if we plug these in, you'll end up with negative infinity over. Actually, no, it's an infinity over infinity. It's funky. Can't even plug those in because you'll have negative infinity minus negative infinity. So that'll be negative infinity. Then you have infinity, negative infinity plus infinity. Yeah. So you can't even plug those in. So we're going to try to cancel something out. What's your highest power here? What's your highest power with the denominator? Anyone? Yeah, correct. X to the 1 because this first term is x to the 1/3. This is x to the 1, x to the 0, x to the 1. Teams has been glitching on me lately. Actually, 2/3 and x to the 0. So if you pull out an x, you left with x to the negative. We're going to make this easier way. Don't forget the limit. Then your x's drop. So you're left with the limit. Negative infinity? Negative infinity. All right. So when you plug in negative infinity, it equals 1 over, we're going to do 0 plus because that's how I taught some people. 0 plus because you square the negative infinity. So that'll always be positive. Minus 5 plus 0 negative. So, and then you end up with 2 plus 0 minus 4. This is wrong right here. All right, so 1 over 0 plus, this first term right here, what does that mean? What does 1 over, yes, positive and negative infinity. Correct. And what is the bottom? What does 1 over 0 minus mean? Correct. So this right here is going to equal that doesn't seem right though, does it? Actually, no, I did this wrong. I did this completely wrong. That's why it's not right. X to the 2/3, it's infinity. I'm sorry, I was doing that wrong. I was thinking 0. And this is infinity too. I was completely wrong. Wow. So that's going to equal negative 5. over 2. So that's your answer. Sorry, I was completely wrong. Please forgive me. Mondays. Mondays. So that's your answer is -5 over 2. I am sorry. We'll do one more. We got 2 minutes left. I'll try to get this one right, I swear. So if you plug in infinity here, you end up with infinity over negative infinity, which is indeterminate. What we have to do here, divide by the largest exponent in the denominator. But it's tricky because you have a square root. Got to pull out an x squared on the bottom, on the top, and pull out an x on the bottom. And because of the laws of exponents, you can see now they drop. So you're left which equals these would be negatives, but since you have a 1 there, that's such a small number, it doesn't matter. So it ends up equaling 1. Any questions on how I solve that one? Any questions? You want me to try to solve one more? Or okay. We want as x is approaching infinity, or one that gives you just like an infinite limit. Like x approaches a number and it's going to give you an infinite limit probably. So okay, so let me just see if I can find it. This is number 4. 43 from your textbook. This is going to be really easy, sorry. That's an indeterminate form, so it's approaching infinity, but do we know from what direction? So you have to solve it from the left and the right. Four over 0 plus, which is a number slightly bigger than 0, so it meaning it's positive. Means that's approaching infinity. So let's find the limit. The left you got to be careful because this is a negative number, but it's squared. It equals, that square changes the sign of this 0 minus. So this limit right here and you have to solve it from the left and the right to be sure. So I'm going to try to find one more. Hang on. Oh, hang on. I got a question. No, I didn't. What the crap? Well, this is our last one right here. So limit is x approaches 0 from the left of -1/7. So that equals 5 over 0 negative the 1/7. Now you're taking an odd root, so it doesn't have to be a positive number. It can be negative. So since it's negative, it's going to stay negative as well. So it's going to equal negative infinity. Now say we do the limit as x approaches 0 from the right, 5 over x to the 1/9. 5 over 0 plus the 1/9. I keep writing 1/2. It's going to equal infinity because you have a positive on the bottom, and it's so small, any number divided by a number that's small is going to equal infinity. Any questions right there of how to do some of that? Sorry I couldn't find some of the really hard ones. No questions? All right. Well, we are not going to have an SI session Wednesday. It is my girlfriend's birthday, so I am taking the day off to spend with her. So what I will probably do instead is he'll give me the quiz, and I will do a little video like I did before to solve the quiz, and I'll post it later that night, depending on when he shows or accepts it. Does that work for you guys? All right. Well, if that's the case, I will be in class Wednesday, but I will not have a session. So, but if that's the case, I'll see y'all Wednesday morning, and I'll have another set. I'll have my office hours on Thursday like normal. Come ask questions, homework questions, anything general like that. But I will catch y'all later.